You believe that terrain is merely earth and that borders are lines drawn by diplomacy. You have been lied to. They have told you that success depends on your will, your effort, or your network of contacts. The reality is far colder. Your destiny was written millennia ago by geography, and you cannot escape it. Look at the map of Iran. Do not see a nation, see a natural fortress surrounded by impassable mountains and deserts that devour armies. While you attempt to build a career or a company on shifting sands, there are forces that have been controlling the world's flow for 2,500 years simply by knowing where they stand. The question that should keep you awake at night is not what you are going to do today, but rather, are you the architect of your position, or are you the pawn that someone else is moving toward the slaughterhouse? Today, you will understand why history's greatest empires, from Rome to Washington, have broken their teeth against this Persian deadbolt. I am going to hand you the key to asymmetric advantage, control of the bottleneck. But before revealing the maneuver, a warning. This channel is not for history enthusiasts or seekers of useless facts. If you are here to be told that everything will turn out fine without a plan, leave. This is the Strategist's compass. Subscribe only if you are ready to abandon the mass mentality and reclaim your place in the hierarchy of those who decide. Welcome to the board where empires die. We begin the deployment. It is the year 331 BCE. Imagine the thick air of the plains of Gaugamela, heavy with a fine dust that clings to the throat and the metallic scent of thousands of unsheathed swords. Before you, the great King Darius III of Persia watches from his war chariot. He is not afraid. Why should he be? At his back lies the heart of Iran, a fortress of plateaus and peaks that has devoured the ambitions of lesser men. Darius has chosen this terrain. He has leveled the ground so his scythed chariots can tear the Macedonians apart. He has the numerical advantage, the gold, and the knowledge of the land. But before him, a 26-year-old named Alexander does not see an army, he sees a structural flaw on the board. Darius's mistake was not a lack of courage, but an excess of confidence in brute force over position. How many times have you lost an opportunity because you believed the size of your resources compensated for your poor strategic location? The battle erupts. It is a chaos of screams and splintered wood. Alexander, in a move that defies all military logic, does not attack the flanks. He charges directly toward the center, toward the heart of command. Darius panics. The King of Kings turns his chariot and flees into the depths of the Iranian plateau, leaving his empire orphaned. But here is where history turns dark and useful for you. Alexander conquers the cities, sits upon the throne of Persepolis, and burns the palace in an act of psychological dominance. However, as he moves deep into the Persian gates, the terrain begins to close in on him. The mountain passes become death traps where a few Persian defenders massacre his elite phalanxes. Alexander discovers the truth that you must learn today: you can defeat the leader, you can burn the capital, but you cannot subdue the terrain that has decided to resist. But what Alexander was about to discover, and what modern empires continue to ignore, is that Iran is not a country to be conquered, it is a labyrinth that drains you until you have nothing left but a humiliating retreat. Do you know the price of ignoring the geography of your own market? The climax arrives not in battle, but in the pursuit. Alexander chases Darius through the wastelands, only to find him dead, betrayed by his own satraps. In that moment, the conqueror of the world understands that he has won the crown, but inherited an unsolvable problem. He has entered the deadbolt of the world. Every kilometer he advances eastward pulls him further from his supplies and deeper into a geography designed for eternal insurgency. Alexander won the battle, but the Persian board ultimately broke his army, exhausting his men until, years later, they refused to take another step. Alexander the Great died young, far from home, leaving an empire that fragmented into pieces before his body had even cooled. He ignored the fundamental law: he who controls the bottleneck controls the pace of the game. He who invades it without understanding it is merely buying his own funeral. You have witnessed the fall of an empire. Now, cut open the corpse of history and extract the lessons that will keep you alive in the modern market. In military intelligence, coincidences do not exist, only ignored laws. Here are the 3 principles of the compass that dictate who dominates and who disappears. 1. The locksmith's law: he who controls the bottleneck dictates the price of existence. The mistake of all invaders of Iran, from the Greeks to 21st century strategists, is believing that power is the sum of your assets. False. Power is the ability to strangle the adversary's flow. Iran is the deadbolt of the Strait of Hormuz. If they close their hand, the world runs out of energy. The cost of inaction: if in your career or your company you do not possess a skill or an asset that acts as a mandatory crossing point, you are replaceable. You are an open plain waiting to be plundered. If you are not the deadbolt, you are the door that anyone can kick down. 2. The law of the natural fortress: your environment is either a weapon or your grave. Darius III had the army, but Alexander had the vision. However, even Alexander was defeated by Persian geography. The principle is simple: never fight on terrain that you cannot turn into an ally. Iran does not need an invincible army because its land is its first line of defense. The Zagros Mountains are walls that collect no salary and never surrender. Realistic brutality: entering a saturated market or a power structure you do not understand is like charging the Persian gates blindfolded. Blind trust is like offering your throat to a wolf and expecting it to lick you. If you do not build your position upon an intrinsic geographical or strategic advantage, your fall is not a possibility, it is a mathematical certainty. But beware, dominating physical terrain is the beginner level. The true strategist knows that a much more dangerous terrain exists: the mental map of their rivals. 3. The law of the ghost invasion: physical conquest is the prelude to exhaustion. You can occupy a city, you can hack a database, you can buy a rival company. But if you do not assimilate the culture and logistics of the territory, you are merely holding a red-hot iron. Empires die in Iran because the cost of maintaining the occupation is greater than the benefit of the loot. It is a constant hemorrhage of resources, men, and will. Intelligence analysis: in the business world, this is called failed scalability. Many entrepreneurs conquer a new sector only to die from the operating costs of maintaining it. If your victory weakens you more than your enemy, you have not won, you have been ambushed by your own ambition. Now that you understand why giants fall, it is time for you to stop being a spectator of history and start being the protagonist of your own maneuver. What I am about to show you next is how to apply this Persian deadbolt to your immediate reality, without the need for an army of phalanxes. Beginning transition to field maneuvers. Stand by. You have studied the map of Iran and watched the kings of antiquity fall. But the war did not end at Gaugamela. The war continues today, in your office, in your WhatsApp chats, and at the table where you dine with your family. Geography is destiny, and in your life, you are the territory. If you do not apply the Persian deadbolt right now, someone else will apply it to you. The personal power front, the bottleneck: imagine you work in a high-level organization. You have talent, you are loyal, you work harder than anyone. And suddenly, a colleague with less ethics but more cunning snatches the promotion from you. Why? Because you were an open plain and he turned himself into the Strait of Hormuz. He controls a piece of information, a contact, or a technical process that no one else understands. He has become the bottleneck. If you want the company to move forward, you have to go through him. The maneuver: identify the critical asset in your environment. Do not be the one who does everything, be the one who holds the only key to what matters. If you are expendable, you are already dead. Create a strategic dependency where the cost of firing or betraying you is the collapse of their system. But beware, betrayal does not always come from your enemies. Sometimes, the Trojan horse sleeps in your own bed or sits in your innermost circle. The relationship front, the fortress of the Zagros: you are in a relationship or a friendship where you feel you constantly have to prove your worth. You are allowing the enemy, the insecurity or manipulation of the other, to invade your personal terrain. You are fighting in an open field, and you are being massacred. The maneuver: execute a tactical withdrawal. Establish boundaries that are like granite walls. Do not explain your reasons. Explanations are for subjects, not for sovereigns. If someone wants access to your time, your energy, or your attention, they must pay the price you dictate. If they do not respect the deadbolt, close the door. Prefer a sovereign desert over a city occupied by parasites. The business front: the ghost invasion. You launch a project and have moderate success. Immediately, the competition copies you. You start a price war, lowering your standards, bleeding your capital to maintain your position. You are making Alexander's mistake. You are trying to sustain an empire that costs you more than it gives you. The maneuver: do not compete on volume, compete on a position of suffocation. If your competition can do the same as you just by lowering the price, you do not have a fortress, you have a tent. Seek the terrain where the cost of entry for them is prohibitive. Specialize in such a way that trying to imitate you is, for them, a hemorrhage of resources they cannot afford. 90% of the people watching this will nod their heads, but tomorrow they will go back to being pawns. They will let themselves be trampled because the fear of loneliness is stronger than their desire for power. Are you one of them? If you choose to continue being nice instead of being strategic, prepare to pay the tax of weakness, the contempt of those who actually know how to play. History does not remember those who had good intentions, but those who knew where to place their fortress so that no one could ignore them. Now, stop reacting and start building your geography of dominance. The map is on the table. Are you going to be the land that everyone walks on, or the mountain that everyone fears to bypass? However, this is where most armchair strategists fail. This is where the compass points in a direction that you will find terrifying. Iran's greatest strength is not its mountains, it is its capacity to be invisible while the enemy destroys itself. Listen closely, because this is the truth you will not find in intelligence manuals. Sometimes, the best way to control a bottleneck is to pretend the door is open. On the Real board, absolute power does not reside in fierce resistance, but in strategic absorption. Iran has been invaded by Greeks, Arabs, Mongols, and Turks. On paper, Iran lost. Its kings were beheaded, its cities plundered. But here is the master's secret: Iran did not expel its invaders with swords, it conquered them with its mind. The Mongols entered as nomadic warriors and ended up becoming protectors of Persian culture. The Arabs brought their religion but ended up adopting the administration and bureaucracy of the vanquished. The compass angle is this: if your position is deep enough, the enemy does not conquer you, you become their operating system. In your life, this means that sometimes you should not build a granite wall. You must allow the competitor or adversary to win a small battle, to enter your territory, to feel like the owner. And while he celebrates his victory, you infect his structure. You make your processes indispensable to his survival. You hand him the throne, but you keep control of the information that allows him to sit on it. It is the paradox of parasitic power. It is the master level where you stop being the fortress that takes the hits to become the air the enemy breathes. If you fight a giant, he will crush you. But if you make the giant depend on you to walk, the giant now works for you. The final question is not whether you can resist the attack. The elite question is your essence so potent that, even if you lose, the victor will end up becoming a version of you? That is the definitive victory. The one that requires no armies, but a depth that no one can plunder. Now, guard this secret. Only those willing to lose their ego to win the game understand that, sometimes, submission is the most lethal choking maneuver of all. Today's deployment is complete. What you once saw as a simple map of the Middle East, you now understand for what it truly is, an instruction manual for dominance and survival. If there is one thing you must engrave in your mind today, it is this: power is not the size of your army, but the inevitability of your position. You came here seeking to understand why empires die at the borders of Iran, and you leave with something much more dangerous, the ability to identify the bottlenecks in your own life, to build fortresses where others only see landscapes, and to turn the invasion of your enemies into the engine of your own victory. You have ceased to be a pawn that reacts and have become the strategist who moves the pieces. The blindfold has fallen, you no longer have the excuse of ignorance. If you are among the few who prefer the coldness of a tactical truth over the comfort of an emotional lie, like this video. It is not a favor, it is a signal of recognition between equals. I want you to leave a comment with your master-level analysis. What is the Strait of Hormuz, in your industry or your personal circle that no one else is protecting? The debate in the comments is the training ground. Prove that you have understood the lesson. Subscribe to the Strategist's Compass and turn on notifications. We are not a history channel, we are an intellectual warfare academy for the 21st century. If you are not at the Strategist's table, you are on the Predator's menu. You decide where to sit in the next mission. The map is drawn. The execution is yours. Keep the compass steady. North is power.